I am so excited about this episode today because it is about two women and the thing they built, the Bloodroot Collective, that actually inspired this channel. And also we're going to be making this beautiful mushroom walnut pâté. It is so intensely delicious. It is so intensely delicious. Oh my God, I'm going to be making this all the time. Yes. Hi, I'm Stevie Lynn. Welcome to Savoring Her Story, where we make vegetarian food and share stories of women who changed the world through food. If that sounds like your jam, consider subscribing and hitting that bell button so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. And I do post every week, every Sunday morning at 6 a.m. I'm actually planning on doing a couple pop-up videos here and there because I've just been, I'm always experimenting with food. I'm always developing new recipes, and I would just like to share them with you. So let's get on with today's topic. So today we're going to be talking about the Bloodroot Collective and its founders, Selma Miriam and Noel Furie. And also we're going to be making this beautiful mushroom walnut pâté. The recipe for the mushroom walnut pâté is in the political palette too. And then there's, of course, there's the first political palette. I'm not sure if it's in there, but one of the reasons why I chose to make this recipe is because it's literally on their menu right now. I just wanted to make something that they were serving like right now, this week. Like if you were to order food to go, you could get this mushroom pâté. It's kind of a hard recipe to follow, but I'm gonna make it more simple for you. Put it in the description box below. I did make some adjustments, so the recipe down below is going to be my version of the recipe. So let's get on with the recipe, and I will tell you more about the Bloodroot Collective and Selma Miriam and Noel Furie. Okay, I have the Best of Bloodroot Volume 2 right here, mushroom walnut pâté, and you'll see she just kind of, I'm assuming it's Selma Miriam, she just writes it out so you don't have like a list of ingredients. Kind of boggles my brain. So I am, of course, deviating from this recipe. I don't mean to, but I couldn't find dried tarragon, and I don't really like tarragon anyway. I opted instead to use some rosemary, and I just have like some parsley and thyme from my garden. In their recipe, they use half a teaspoon of oregano and half a teaspoon of tarragon. I'm going to be using a quarter of a teaspoon of rosemary because it's very strong. I just grabbed kind of a handful of thyme that will actually soften the rosemary punch. And then I just got a handful of parsley too. They don't really use fresh herbs in the recipe, but since I've got the fresh herbs, I'm using them. Also, they like to use grapeseed oil a lot in their whole recipe book. I don't really use grapeseed oil. It's not that I buy all the fear around seed oils. Not like intellectually, I know better, but kind of I do. So I am going to be using this Miyoko's butter, plant-based butter. I don't think it has seed oils in it. It might. I'm not actually really that worried. I think it's like coconut oil based. And the reason why I'm using a butter is because in this recipe, it calls, you make a thing called Duxelles. Duxelles. It's something that I just learned. And it's made with butter. So I figured go with the more traditional, even though it's not butter, but it is kind of butter. So, and a Duxelles is basically finely chopped shallots and mushrooms. And you do that in the food processor, but you saute it in butter and you make a paste. So that's something else that I'm going to be doing a little different. And one other thing that I'm doing different these sunflower seeds and sesame seeds. Just because I love what it does to the flavor, I'm going to pan toast these. It's not in the recipe, and it does make this recipe like a lot of steps. Since I have the time to do it, I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna toast them just until they smell toasty. Look a little bit more golden. I'm gonna be very careful because once they start toasting fast, and I don't wanna burn them. Are starting to get golden. And this cast iron will hold on to the heat for a while and continue to toast them. You wanna keep them moving around for a few minutes, because they will, if you just put them aside, they will toast. They could burn. So I have a half a pound of mushrooms, and I used a scale to weigh these, but if you don't have a scale, it's about 2.5 cups. And I'm just gonna roughly chop these. Now I already took the stems off, and I wiped them real well. I didn't actually wash them because I want these dry. Along with 3 tablespoons of shallots. I think this will do it. I'm really rough chopping them. I got our shallots and our mushrooms, and let's process them. I'm just using the chop button. Okay, I'm putting garlic in there. I just crushed it and I'm mincing it. I was supposed to do the garlic in the next step, but I didn't. I like to season as I go. They suggest seasoning it later, but I'm doing it now. I want to put the herbs in right now, but I'm not supposed to do that until later, so I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be a good girl. It's looking like cat food. Okay, the recipe also calls to do this over a high heat, but I'm using cast iron, which holds on to heat a little bit more, so I've got it on medium high. And they said to do it until it separates, and I think they mean clumping, and it's clumping. So I'm gonna put it aside. I'm gonna turn off the heat, put it aside. Let's grind our seeds. That looks good. So we're putting the seeds in the food processor with a cup of walnuts. I never did saute the garlic, so we are following instructions here. Let's roughly chop up my thyme and parsley. Okay. About this much rosemary, about a 1/4 teaspoon. Oh, it smells so good. Turn the ground seeds into the unwashed processor. Add a 1/2 cup of walnuts, 1 small clove, peeled garlic, your herbs. In a measuring cup, combine a 1/3 cup olive oil and a 1/3 cup grapeseed oil. So I'm going to be using this because we are going to have to pour it into the food processor to emulsify the oils, and we need to do it slowly. So I got something that has a nice little spout. So there might actually be a good reason why they're choosing to use a grapeseed oil, and that is the polyphenols. The polyphenols, when they get agitated, like in a, when you're going to emulsify them, they can create like a bitterness. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I don't know how much avocado oil has in terms of polyphenols, but I know a lot of vegan mayonnaise is made with it. So I'm going to guess that it can be emulsified without getting a bitter flavor. Add a little lemon juice or water to start it up again. Do not use all the lemon juice. Taste to see how much is needed. Add 2/3 cup of prepared mustard and 1 blah 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 blah. What do we do? Okay. Fun fact about me, I hate following instructions. I hate them. I hate instructions. Oh, so I guess we're just going to start blending it. So it's very obvious that Selma is like an intuitive cook like me, and she probably really doesn't like writing things down in a recipe book. She probably just kind of does things by feel. That's what I'm getting. I don't know, drop bits of tofu in there, a little lemon juice. We're not supposed to use all the lemon juice. Woo! Mustard, just a little mustard. This, by the way, is the best mustard in the world. So we're taking our nut mixture. This didn't get as stiff as I expected. Maybe I put too much of something in it. I don't know. So now we're adding our Duxelles. My husband is allergic to mushrooms, so that's why you never see a lot of mushroom cooking on this channel. But I decided that, what the heck is vegetarian cooking without mushrooms? Also, my husband hates eggplant. What the heck is vegetarian cooking without eggplant? We're already so restricted, pretty much gluten-free, and I call this a vegetarian cooking show, but I am for the most part vegan. I might use a backyard chicken egg, for my neighbor, every once in a while. But other than that, I'm 99.9% plant-based. Some of the oil seems to be separating. Maybe I didn't emulsify it very good. It looks a lot like cat food. But then again, what is cat food but pate? I'm serving it on the endive, but I'll show you how I put it all together later, tomorrow, after it chills. It's such a good thing to bring to a party. So I like these little endive boats. This is the bomb. Oh my God. It is so good. Well worth the effort. Okay, I'm gonna chill it. I gotta stop eating it. This is my husband. Can't have mushrooms. I'm getting together with a friend tomorrow. I'm gonna bring her a surprise. And so I'll show you how I played it, and then I'll bring it to her. Hopefully she likes mushrooms. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so the Bloodroot restaurant exists right now in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's a lovely place. I haven't been there, but I've heard that it's a lovely place on the water. It's just very idyllic and charming. And it was started in like 1977, but before it was a restaurant, it was a radical experiment. One that worked. Only women were allowed except for men who were extremely sympathetic to the feminist movement, specifically radical feminist. It was a collective and it had a feminist bookstore as well. And you didn't just eat there, you belonged there. And you could just hang out for hours, just reading books, eating food, having great conversations about ideas and feminism and philosophy and movements. Like, it was also a place to organize. So when you first walked in, you might find someone reading Audre Lorde at the corner table, another person writing a poem, someone else prepping lentil soup in the kitchen. People served themselves. There was no wait staff, and they cleaned up after themselves, and they would just stay for hours. There was no rush, no one pushing them to leave. If you wanted to write a book, you could write a book there. And it totally wasn't performative. Like, you could talk about big ideas without being dismissed. You could disagree without being belittled. You could exist and be seen and heard. And it's so much different than what we have right now. The two women who created this collective, who started this collective, was Selma Miriam and Noel Furie. We're not going to do a lot of B-roll today because it's hard for me to find copyright-free images, but I can show you the book. So here's what the restaurant looked like. And there's a beautiful picture of Selma Miriam. Here's Selma Miriam, and this was, I think this was, well, she died, I think last year. I think she was 89. And here she is, like probably in the 90s. Selma Miriam and Noel Furie. And they were a couple. And I don't know how long ago this was. It looks recent, but she certainly doesn't look 90 here. But she did age quite beautifully. Probably because of her vegetarian and vegan diet. Selma Miriam and Noel Furie and others too, they envisioned something that was completely different from patriarchy. And they didn't wait for permission to create this vision. They didn't ask for mainstream approval, not at all. They just built what they needed. They didn't have a lot of money. They just had trust and faith and purpose. And they knew what they wanted, and they went for it. And they created a brand new model of life. So they didn't believe in hierarchy at all. And they didn't believe in hierarchy in the kitchen, not in relationships, not in politics. So they ran the Bloodroot collectively and collaboratively, consciously. And it wasn't easy. Like Selma Miriam, I watched a video of Selma Miriam, and she said she was never, ever going to retire. She said they work, sun up to sundown, and she was never going to retire because this was her purpose. This is what she loved. And this is not verbatim. She said it in a different way. So this idea of radical egalitarianism, it just shaped everything that they did. How they cooked, how they treated people, and how they lived. Their feminism wasn't theoretical. It was practical. It was embodied. They lived it. They lived their truth. And I do, really also love the whole commitment to nonviolence, their pacifism, and their commitment to egalitarianism. They believed that nonviolence had to extend to every part of life, including food. And that's why they became vegetarians. Actually, someone told them that if they're going to have a feminist organization that serves food, it had to be vegetarian. Because domination over women, over animals, over the earth was something that they rejected in all its forms. We all know that Bloodroot was more than just a restaurant, but it's also a living archive of second wave feminism. And even though they were second wave, and even though they considered themselves radical, they were some of the first to recognize intersectionality. In this book, they actually mention the intersections of feminism. They mention it. So they read, they listened, and worked to center Black women, Indigenous women, queer women, and poor women in their vision of liberation. I mean, to be honest, they weren't necessarily the first to have this idea either. Like Simone de Beauvoir, who was the feminist existentialist from the 1920s, she talked a lot about how we couldn't be free until the least of us were free as well. So this is not new. It's not a new concept. Either way, Selma and Noel, they knew that freedom is flat. It's layered, and liberation must include everyone, or it's not liberation at all. Because I love them so much, we are going to be revisiting them in other videos. I wanted to introduce the Bloodroot Collective to you today. I have, a few cookbooks, and I want to, cook some of the recipes in these cookbooks with you. Like I said, Selma never, ever retired. So there's this great video. It's part of a vegetarian cooking show, I think out of Connecticut, but she makes this blueberry pie, and it's very interesting, and I want to try it. But it's a very easy recipe, and she said it's a flaky pie crust, and basically it's just flour, a whole bunch of coconut oil, salt, a little cardamom, and that's it. And it doesn't need to be refrigerated. You don't need to cut, cold coconut oil into it. It's just really easy. I'm not a very good baker, so this seems like a pie crust that might be interesting. So Bloodroot was a place that fed feminism. I really like this idea of remix culture, where they took the idea of the women's places in the kitchen, which was a thing that they were definitely fighting against in the 70s. And they remixed it into something that was more like the feminist movement begins in the kitchen, or empowerment begins in the kitchen. And why wouldn't it? Because everybody needs to eat. It's like, who produces the fuel? Okay, we fight about oil in the world. We fight over who's got the oil to sell. We have wars over oil. Oil is power. So why isn't food power? Sometimes it's the way that things have been presented to us creates our own captivity. Anyway, Selma Miriam and Noel Furie imagined another way of life, and they were brave enough to live it, to make it happen. And I think that is so amazing. So let's plate our mushroom pâté. It is to die for. I promise you that. So here's our chilled walnut and mushroom pâté. Taking this and cutting the top off. So at the Bloodroot Collective, this is how they serve it, but I think they serve it in a green bell pepper. Serve it on lettuce, and that will make it stay. I'm gonna cut that off. I'm just cutting out the ribs. What I could do, I could actually probably make 2 of them. I'll try that. That way they're shallow and easier to dip in. And then the mushroom pâté will help it stick to the plate too. You know what a bloodroot flower looks like? We can make a bloodroot flower. That's so cute. Let's make a bloodroot flower. Oh, I love it. I wish I got more endive. I don't really have enough. We don't have enough for both. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I really appreciate you. You have no idea how much. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.